What are we to make of the Akedah? The Akedah, the binding of Isaac. Genesis chapter 22, and our traditional Torah portion on Rosh Hashanah morning. The Akedah, its words chanted so beautifully moments ago that we might forget their meaning. Today, Rosh Hashanah is the day of remembrance, and today we remember the story of the Akedah. I'll retell it now, and you can also read it to yourself, starting on page 124 and 125 of our prayer books. V'ha Elohim nisa et Avraham. And it was after these things that God tested Abraham. God calls Abraham, and Abraham responds, as he always does, Hineni, here I am. And here is a test. Kachna et bincha. Take your son, the son you love, Isaac, and sacrifice him as a burnt offering on the mountain that I will show you. Having already said Hineni, Abraham does not reply. Rather, at daybreak, he prepares the wood, saddles his donkey, gathers his servants and son, and journeys 3 days into the hill country. When he recognizes a mountain that God intends for the sacrifice, Abraham gives Isaac the wood to carry. He takes the firestone and the knife, and father and son climb the hill together. They reach the appointed place. Abraham assembles an altar, stacks the wood. He ties up Isaac, places him on top. He lifts the knife to slaughter his son. It seems unfathomable to us, but this is Abraham's response to God's command. And this response is exactly what Abraham has been taught. He has every reason to think that things are going to be just fine. How do we know? Remember how this passage began? Ha Elohim nisa et Avraham, God tested Abraham. According to Jewish tradition, this is God's 10th test of Abraham. 10th test. In earlier tests, God has commanded that Abraham leave the country of his birth and journey to the promised land, that he go to Egypt to seek relief from famine, that he rally soldiers in a war among Canaanite kings, that he circumcise himself and all the men of his household. Over these 9 tests, Abraham has learned what to do. He listens to God's decree. He does exactly as God directs, and he and those he loves are rewarded. Abraham and his family have been rewarded greatly. Abraham's obedience has brought them sustenance, shelter, wealth. They have been delivered from hunger and rescued from captivity. Abraham has achieved victory in battle. Sarah gives birth to a son in her old age. Abraham and Sarah are promised numberless descendants, that his name will bring blessing to the world, that God will shield him against all harm. So now the scene on top of the mountain becomes a bit more understandable. In this 10th test, as in the previous 9 tests, Abraham will do exactly as God directs. And in this 10th test, as in the previous 9 tests, he and those he loves will be rewarded. But this time, things turn out differently. This time, a voice calls from heaven, Al tishlach yadha el hanar, do not raise your hand against the boy, do not do anything to him. The divine voice must summon him twice. Abraham, Abraham, before the sacrifice is aborted. Abraham was so intent that he almost failed to hear. As the Torah assures us, Isaac's life is spared, and God praises Abraham for his obedience, for his willingness to endure the ordeal of the Akedah, it seems that once again, Abraham has passed the test. It seems that everything will be all right. But it would be wrong to say that once again everything is all right. It would be wrong to say that Abraham and those he loves are rewarded. Vayashav Avraham, then Abraham returned from the test. His beloved son Isaac refuses to accompany him. In fact, Isaac never speaks to Abraham again. Neither does his wife Sarah, and neither does God. What are we to make of the Akedah? Up to the moment of the Akedah, Abraham has known God primarily by the name Magen Avraham, shield of Abraham. Abraham has known God as deliverer and protector, fighter of battles and worker of wonders. Abraham has believed that if you do as you've been taught, if you continue on the path that's brought reward, then Magen, you will be shielded. Magen, you will be safe. When God told Abraham, go forth to the land that I will show you, Abraham heeded God. When God told Abraham, I am your shield, Abraham heeded God. When God told Abraham, your reward will be very great, Abraham heeded God. But now, it is a moment after the Akedah, and Abraham is an old man, and he is trudging down the mountain, and he is alone, and God is silent. Abraham must have been utterly bewildered, utterly lost, so confused, and so sad. The story of the Akedah is over 3,000 years old, and the premise of the Akedah, the command to undertake a 3-day journey to perform a child sacrifice, well, that is not, to put it mildly, relatable. But Abraham is relatable. Abraham trying his best. Abraham doing the right thing. Abraham expecting to be rewarded. Abraham thinking that everything will be okay. Abraham bewildered and confused. Abraham wondering what's happened to his Magen, what's happened to his shield, what's happened to his safety. I felt like Abraham more than once lately. I bet I'm not the only one. We might think that Abraham is the most important figure of the Akedah. At least I've always felt that way. The story is told from his point of view. He is the one who receives the divine communication, the one who speaks and decides and acts. We see the mountain through Abraham's eyes. We carry the firestone through Abraham's fingers. We hear the angel's voice through Abraham's ears. We endure the ordeal through Abraham's spirit. And especially after the year that has passed, we feel Abraham's bewilderment, his confusion, his longing to be shielded, to be safe. But what of Isaac? Isaac, Abraham and Sarah's cherished son. Isaac, whose birth was a miracle foretold by angels, whose very name means laughter. Isaac, whose weaning was the occasion of the very first party in the Torah. Isaac, who has watched for years as his father's obedience has brought protection and success. Isaac, who has been promised the same. Isaac, who is bound on the altar, a knife raised to his throat. Isaac, who sees his father ready to make the sacrifice. Jewish tradition teaches that on the day of the Akedah, God became known by a new name, Pachad Yitzchak, the fear of Isaac. Throughout the entire story of the Akedah, Isaac's name appears only 5 times. Isaac utters only 7 words. But this year, it seems to me, that Isaac is actually the hero of the Akedah. Let me tell you why. Let us give Isaac the last word on this morning of Rosh Hashanah. Jewish tradition tells that during the Akedah, as Isaac lay bound on the altar, he received a vision of everything that would unfold for him and for his people. All of the glory, all of the joy, all of the nobility and the light, all of the blood, all of the lament, all of the degradation and darkness, the suffering, the faith, the death, the life. No wonder Isaac knew such pachad, such fear. When Isaac was released from the altar, he had a choice. He could have escaped into the wilderness, created a new life for himself, made sure that the faith of his parents died with him, that his descendants would be spared the blood, the lament, the degradation, and the darkness. Who would have blamed him? These are difficult times, friends. These are days of confusion and bewilderment and anxiety. We yearn for those easier times of Magain. In his sermon last night, my husband gave us hope that they will return. I believe this as well. But these are still days of pachad, of fear. But it is in these difficult times that we remember the choice that Isaac made, and we know the choice that Isaac made because we are here. Isaac chose to make his way. He knew fear, but he also knew pride and courage. He knew faith and determination. He knew that his children would be burdened, but that they would carry these burdens with dignity, with grace, and always, always, always with hope. We know these things too. And so we make our way as well. Am hanetzach leolam lo mefached. The people of eternity do not submit to fear. Am Yisrael Chai, my friends, and Shana Tova.